You really learn some amazing things. During the filming of the movie, People vs. the State of Illusion, I had the opportunity to interview Dr. Robert John, who was the founder of a laboratory at Princeton University called PAIR. And Dr. John was initially commissioned by the US government to help put man on the moon. He was really responsible for many of the discoveries in jet propulsion. And one of the things that they wanted to know at the time that they were developing this technology is what effect, if any, would the astronauts' intentions or perceptions actually have on the high sensitive equipment that was being put in these rocket ships. So Dr. John started a laboratory at Princeton called PAIR that was designed to test whether or not people could have an effect from their thoughts and perceptions alone on inanimate objects like computers and machines. And he conducted experiments designed to see if people could in fact affect the outcome of the random movements of these computers or equipments. And after a 25-year period of time, Dr. John ended up closing the laboratory because they established beyond a scientific doubt that in fact people's intentions and perceptions could affect inanimate objects like computers. But during our interviews, one of the interesting things that Dr. John talked about was how when they first brought somebody in to conduct a test and see whether they could influence a computer flipping a random coin or another experiment like that, they found that the impact that the person had on the machine was super profound. And he told me that if they could have reported just those initial results, it really would have blown away the entire scientific world. But he said they observed an interesting phenomenon. On the second time that the person came in to conduct the experiment, they had almost no effect on the machines. And then on the 3rd through the 20th trial, they would have an effect greater than statistically insignificant. In other words, they had an effect greater than chance, but never an effect as great as the first time they came in or as bad as the second time they came in to conduct the trial. And I asked Dr. John the question, why do you think that is? And he said, you know, an interesting thing, he said, is when people came in the first time, it was almost as if they had no idea and no process to control. They came in completely open-minded, and the machines would respond to their intentions and the experiment brilliantly. But then the second time they came in, people would try to harness their quote-unquote power and control the outcome. And it's as if the machines knew that and all of a sudden shut off being sensitive to the intentions of the test subjects. And then, of course, by the 3rd through the 20th trial, people would come in and never be as open-minded as the first time, but they would certainly be humbled by the outcome of the second experiment. And so they would have an effect, but never as significant as that first instance. So as we discussed this phenomenon, what we really realized, and what certainly Dr. John has realized for some time, is that when we try to control this creative power, we run into trouble. And I think the secret is actually to dance with it, to really pay attention through awareness and almost a listening to that voice of innovation, that voice of creativity within us. And then our job is to align our actions and our thoughts with that innovation. But it comes from a deep source within us. And the more that we can become in alignment with it, the more we can dance with it, not trying to control it, but simply aligning our actions with it, the more powerful we become and the more that innovation and creativity takes us to places we could never have imagined we would be.